In news from the criminal courts, we learned that one man reportedly violated a restraining order to confront his ex-girlfriend's new partner. Another man was arrested on multiple domestic violence charges after his partner reportedly declined intimate contact. And a third man is arrested after his wife calls police during a domestic disturbance. Police spoke to a man who reported a burglary at the Louis E. Brown apartment buildings on St. Croix. He said he was sitting on his girlfriend's couch just before 10 a.m. on November 29th when he heard someone knocking at the door. By the time he got to the front door, the man in a black hoodie was walking away. About a minute later, a knock came from the northern bedroom window. The man called out and the visitor replied. It was the voice of Jelani Ferdinand, the ex-boyfriend of the apartment's female resident and the father of her child. When the man went to the bedroom, he found Ferdinand trying to climb through the window he'd propped open with a pocket knife. Rebuffing this attempt at ingress, the man directed Ferdinand back to the front door so they could talk. Before leaving the bedroom, the man says he locked all the windows and called 911. While on the phone with dispatchers, he heard a noise coming from the kitchen window and saw Ferdinand climbing through. The man told 911 operators to send police to the residence immediately as Ferdinand landed in the kitchen and began to confront the male resident with allegations of child abuse of both Ferdinand's and the man's own children. Still holding the pocket knife, Ferdinand asked the victim why he was calling police and exhorted him to instead talk to him like a man, before grabbing the phone away from the man who had been recording the incident and throwing it onto the floor. The two men began grappling with each other inside the apartment until the resident managed to unlock and open the front door, guiding the scuffling pair out of the apartment, all while Ferdinand was still armed with his pocket knife. Once outside, Ferdinand reportedly threatened to kill the other man, yelling at him to stay away from his child. When the man picked up a large stone to even the odds, Ferdinand dared him to throw it before driving away in a blue Toyota Yaris. The man told police that he'd been living at his girlfriend's apartment for no more than 8 weeks and that Ferdinand had a restraining order against him. Issued in April 2021, it was valid for 2 years. Police noted minor injuries to one of the man's fingers and to his left arm, but he declined medical assistance. Police also noted the disarray in the kitchen and that the screens on both windows Ferdinand opened on the grass outside the apartment. On December 1st, Ferdinand turned himself into police and was placed under arrest and charged with burglary in the first degree, assault in the third degree, aggravated assault and battery, carrying or using a dangerous weapon during a crime of violence, and destruction of property. He was also charged with contempt of court as an act of domestic violence. In court on Monday, a judge ruled that Ferdinand must post $1,500 of his $50,000 bail requirement, with the remainder posted as an unsecured bond, before he can be released into the care of a third-party custodian. Standard bail conditions apply, including being banned from the housing complex where the incident took place. On St. Thomas, Adam Reeves appeared before a VI Superior Court judge on Wednesday to face charges after an alleged brutal assault on his girlfriend following her declining his sexual advances. The woman reported to police that she was in bed on December 5th when Reeves approached her in a sexual manner. She told him that she was not interested and he became upset, she says, shouting that this was the reason he was sleeping with other women. She turned her back to him, the woman said, until she heard Reeves making a remark about her mobile phone. When she rolled back over, she saw her going through her phone. The woman told officers that she demanded her property back, but Reeves instead straddled her on the bed and began to strangle her with both his hands. Struggling to breathe, the woman says she grabbed her partner's head to try to push him off, and in doing so may have scratched his face, causing him to lose his grip. Able to feel her lungs again, the woman began to scream while trying to scramble off the bed. She says Reeves struck her in the face, causing her to fall backwards and hit her head against the headboard. The commotion alerted one of the woman's friends who was in the living room. She reportedly came running into the bedroom, screaming at Reeves to stop, but a reportedly drunken Reeves hit his girlfriend in the face again when she tried to take her phone from where he had placed it on the dresser. Eventually, she says she was able to retrieve some of her belongings and leave the residence with the help of her friends. The woman told police that Reeves had begun drinking heavily about a year into their 3.5-year relationship at the onset of the pandemic. That's when he gets abusive, the woman said. Despite being on the receiving end of his attacks more than once before, The woman said she had never previously filed a police report because she was scared, and also she did not want to negatively impact Reeves' business. The woman said she thinks the attack on the 5th was precipitated when Reeves saw messages she had sent to a friend about her contemplating leaving him due to his abusive behavior. Police tried and failed to reach Reeves by telephone and ultimately left a voice message. His lawyer responded to say that Reeves would turn himself in on December 7th. Around 7 a.m. Wednesday, Reeves duly reported to the domestic violence unit and was arrested and charged with second-degree assault, simple assault, destruction of property, and disturbance of the peace, all as crimes of domestic violence. In court on Wednesday, a judge ruled that Reeves be allowed to post $1,000 in cash to secure his release. He will be restricted to the St. Thomas St. John district except for work travel to the BVI. Weekly check-ins with the probation office were also ordered, and he must remain employed. The judge ordered Reeves to allow the woman an opportunity to retrieve the rest of her belongings from the residence. He is barred from visiting her new place of residence and her place of employment and must stay at least 50 feet away from her at all times. Reeves is further prohibited from using alcohol or any controlled substance, as well as possessing a firearm, ammunition, or dangerous weapon. His next court appearance is on December 21st. Another man appeared in court on Monday to face domestic violence charges after police responded to a disturbance call in Estate Wim. Rami Al-Obani's wife reported him to police on December 2nd, saying that he was destroying household items while armed with his licensed gun. She told officers that he had come home upset, telling her that she should not leave their children, ages 14 and 10, home alone while she attempts to sell her jewelry. He reportedly asked for the keys to the downstairs apartment where she stores her merchandise, but moments later she noticed that the door had been damaged. When confronted, Al-Obani reportedly began throwing fragile household objects onto the floor, smashing a vase that was on the dining room table, and tossing Christmas decorations outside. Police disarmed Al-Obani and secured the weapon as he complained that his wife had left the two children home since 4 p.m., despite him telling her not to do so. Officers noted the damage to the door of the downstairs apartment, the broken glass in the upstairs kitchen, and the damaged holiday decor outside. Al-Obani was then arrested and charged with destruction of property as an act of domestic violence and disturbance of the peace. In court on Monday, a judge ruled that he be allowed to post 10% of his $1,000 bail requirement, with the remainder posted as an unsecured bond. He must provide the probation office with his itinerary prior to any business travel and must report there every Tuesday. While the matter is pending, Al-Obani must find somewhere else to live, as he is banned from the home until the criminal charges are resolved.